Situated at the base of the Adirondacks on the banks of Lake Champlain, Whitehall, New York is drenched in decades of history. For many, the Abair Road Incident is nothing more than a string of Bigfoot stories spread over 1 week. Those that were around at the time know the truth is something far more unsettling.
Okay, these are casts that were part of the Dr. Warren Cook collection. And this is one from West Rutland, Vermont, 1985.
Paul Bartholomew was just a kid at the time of the Abair Road incident, but today is most frequently the man that people turn to for answers about the case. Years of research have shaped him into one of the most knowledgeable sources of information on the paranormal in New York State. Bartholomew's interest in the subject was most likely founded on what he's come to refer to as a landmark case.
This is probably the... In 1976, in August, there was a major Bigfoot outbreak in rural Whitehall, New York, in which several teenagers, several law enforcement officials, all had observations of a creature out on Abair Road that was described as being 7 foot tall, walking on 2 legs like a man, looking more like a gorilla, giving a wailing type of scream, a pig-like squeal they described it as, and having red glowing eyes. But what's often been underreported is that there was a major UFO flap going on at the time of those sightings. In fact, in lower Rockland County, New York, there was a major UFO flap in which some of the sensitive installations down there, nuclear installations, were put on alert because of the sightings of unidentified flying objects. In this area, in various counties, Shushan, in Granville, in the neighboring counties of Hartford, right here in Whitehall, there were several UFO sightings. In fact, one of the major news organizations that came up from Albany started their story on the Abair Road creature with a UFO report just prior to it.
Paul's interest in ufology has made him open-minded to a side of the 76 sighting outbreak that many have ignored or simply overlooked. But while strange lights in the sky may have been an unknown aspect of the incident to most, in Whitehall and the surrounding area, UFOs have been ever present. Major outbreaks of flying saucers erupted around the New England states as far back as the 60s, and the nearby Hudson River Valley would one day become synonymous with UFOs, thanks to a major rash of sightings that took place in the mid-1980s. But the Abair incident was unique, in that the UFO reports were running simultaneous to such a high-profile string of Bigfoot sightings, many of them involving law enforcement. Around town, as the reports became more frequent, the scene in Whitehall grew tense.
And back then, in those days, you used to have a dispatcher right at the station, because the calls would come in to the dispatcher. Now it goes through the county and are relayed back to the police. But back then, you had somebody on duty all the time. And Bob Martell was on duty one night, and he said it was within a week either before or after the Abair Road incident. He wasn't sure which. But a woman from 2nd Avenue called him. Now, this is the avenues in Whitehall, and said that a round object had landed on her lawn and that she wanted somebody to come out and take a look. And so Bob Martell and Police Chief Goslin, Wilfred Goslin, headed over to the spot, which is literally only across town, so it's a few minutes away. The woman said that the object had taken off, but they found this circular patch of matted grass, which was still giving off heat. So we had some sort of a landing take place in town, and that's been rarely reported in the papers, but it was verified by both the police chief and the police dispatcher.
The weirdest aspect of the town of Whitehall itself is that sightings of strange phenomena aren't relegated simply to Bigfoots or UFOs. Lake Champlain's close proximity has lended even further to the mystique of the area, as sightings occasionally happen of the infamous lake monster Champ, said to reside within the waters. and its forests are full of tales of unusual creature encounters, from earthbound large black cat sightings to beings seen sailing overhead. One begins to wonder if, like Massachusetts' the Bridgewater Triangle or Pennsylvania's Chestnut Ridge, this might be a location that acts as a magnet to the paranormal itself.
The whole panorama of paranormal events take place. Often that's not reported. The UFO aspect of these cases, where we had a possible UFO landing within a week of the Abair Road sighting in Whitehall. We also had a UFO flap from surrounding regions and in lower New York State, which actually got the sensitive nuclear installation on alert. So we have that paranormal outbreak that somebody like John Keel would call a window area. We had that take place in Whitehall back in 1976. There was another report that's not been well documented, was we had a large bird report, the so-called Thunderbird, by one hunter. It was a single incident in which he said he saw this giant bird flying around in a dump site off of Route 4. And that sighting was only privately logged and never made the papers in any mainstream event. So we have this full gambit of paranormal activity taking place in this flap that took place in 1976 in Whitehall, New York.